everyone. It's Jenna Wilmers, your Ember Igniter, here on the Ember Igniters podcast. Today, I am joined by a very, very special guest and a new friend, Joy Farley. So, just to give you a little tidbit background about how Joy and I have connected today, is she had posted a very, very moving Facebook post on social media. And I have to say, you guys, when I read it, I was literally just struck with like, wow, look at this woman's vulnerability in the moment. So I'm going to pause the video right here and go to that clip and let you take a look at that.
I've been awake since 1:30 a.m., and not because of stress, but because of clarity. Somewhere between the quiet and the tossing and turning, it hit me. Over the past 18 years, I've led over 3,000 speaking events. Not in packed auditoriums, not always from a stage, but through team meetings, Zoom overviews, Facebook Lives, in-home gatherings, Bible studies, and small moments where I simply showed up with what God placed in my hands. This morning, I found a photo of myself, kneeling on the stairs, crying. It was a breaking point. Burned out, questioning everything, wondering if all my work even mattered. I had chased the spotlight for years, chased success, significance, and being seen. But in that breaking, God reminded me, you were called before you were ever recognized. That moment began a shift in me, from performance to purpose, from striving to surrender, from spotlight chasing to spirit following. Now I speak from a different place, not to be impressive, but to be obedient. So today, I'm not sharing this to impress anyone. I'm sharing this because I know I'm not the only one who's poured out behind the scenes, wondering if any of it counted. It counts. Every call, every live video, every small room, every act of faith-fueled obedience. And if you're a faith-driven leader in a hidden season, be encouraged because our time is coming. God sees. He's not looking for polished. He's looking for positioned. Let's keep showing up even when it's quiet because that's where leaders are formed.
So, see, what did I tell you? It was very moving and very, very powerful. So, Joy, take us back to that moment. What were you feeling and what led you to post that on social media?
Yes, well, thank you, first of all, Jenna, for having me. I'm super excited to be here. It's always such an honor to be able to share parts of my story, with others. And, you know, this post came to me on June 29th, and we are now July 10th. So it's been almost a couple weeks ago. And I remember I had attended my cousin's wedding that day, and I fell asleep as soon as I got home, and I woke up at 1:30 in the morning and I could not fall back asleep. And I always take that as a little sign that God wants to keep me up for a reason. And so normally when he wakes me up or I can't go to sleep, I'll say, God, what do you want to share? What do you want to reveal to me? What clarity or wisdom do I need to receive from you in this moment? And so I was laying on my couch and I already told Jenna I probably will just start to cry because that's just how real I am. But I just remember, trying to do the math on how many times I've spoken over the years in different ways, right? Whether that was, through team trainings or, Zoom calls or Facebook Lives or, in-home parties, when I was in my direct sales business or whatever. And I literally did the math and it was around 3,000
Wow,
times.
that's awesome.
And that's in 18 years of being an entrepreneur. And, I don't know why we do this. I think especially as women, but we maybe have this idea of what it actually looks like to be a speaker. And we have this idea of, it's on a physical stage in front of thousands of people. And one thing that the Lord has really been revealing to me, because he took me on like a whole identity crisis, identity shift last year. That was 2024, and that's what has gotten me to here, because I've chased the spotlight my whole life.
Hmm.
And I've been in sales for 18 years, and it's all I've ever known. And so what God has been revealing to me is I um He's the only audience I need.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it because what happens, what tends to happen, Jen, I know that you probably have felt this way, is that you are constantly chasing the next thing, constantly chasing the next thing and always producing and always wanting to have more and be more. And you feel like when you come to this place, you've arrived. And then you're like, no, actually, this is not what I thought it was going to be. And it's like this endless cycle of producing,
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like as that's how most humans are wired to be in that endless rat race of producing, where I feel like the enemy will use that as a distraction to not actually know how to rest in the Lord. And so I remember last year, a little bit about my backstory. I was in direct sales for about 10 years. I was with a skincare makeup company. I did really well there. I was on the stage as a speaker. I, earned free cars, earned free trips, was able to stay at home with my 4 children, which is what I wanted to do. But then that company went under in 2017.
Mm.
And so, one thing I will share with you is you can never wrap your identity in what you do. Because as soon as that job is gone, or as soon as a relationship is broken, if you place your identity in anything but the Lord, it is going to, you're just setting yourself up for failure. And so I, was going through all of that. And I remember last year thinking to myself, um, I don't even want to be on the stage anymore. Like
Oh,
I
wow.
was at a point where I was like so sick of myself,
Mm.
of that ego that I wanted to fill,
Yeah.
because I have done very well for myself. Since then, I've transitioned and now I'm in the health and wellness space and I've been with the company now for 8 years. And of course, I'm also, a coach, and I remember waking up saying, that makes me feel disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
That I had that much desire to constantly be in that spotlight. Because here's what happens, right, Jenna? As soon as we're not in the spotlight, then feelings of failure or feelings of, why are people not, focusing on me anymore? Why am I not in the magazine anymore? Or things like that. And God was like, "Mm-mm, that's not how you were designed. We're not doing that." Because I feel like until I actually learned how to like rest in Him, and actually what that means is to be still and know that I am God, and take the Sabbath day as holy and not work on that day. Um, I have got much more energy now than ever, and I'm able to do more things because you know what? I'm giving God my time. And so I know that's kind of a longer question about, leading me up to that post, but that picture of me crying on the stairs, I was at a women's retreat
Mm.
in the hills of Tennessee, and it was with my friend April, and it was called the Prophetic Prayer Women's Retreat.
Oh, wow.
And I felt like last year, what God was doing with me, He was just sending me out and using women just to pour into me, pour life into me, pour purpose into me, pour, confirmation of the calling that He had on my life. And I was on the stairs crying because I was like, I can't operate my life like this anymore, which was always on mode, always on, always on, always on, not resting in Him. And so that's where that post came from.
That is such a beautiful story. So I do have to ask though, were you ever at a point where when you were on or chasing in, the rat race, as you say, was that ever a point where like you felt like you just hit that, or was it something that was like a slow progression that came on and you almost didn't even realize it?
Oh, okay, that's a good question. Okay, so last year, when I was going through my whole identity crisis about what I wanted to do when I grew up and all of that kind of stuff, I took a step back from my current business to really reflect and really seek the Lord and His purpose for my life. And I was also at the time a social media coach. And I did that pretty part-time, but I've been doing that for years. I just kind of started monetizing it, or whatever. And I felt like God was like, I want you to go deeper with women. Like, because He was telling me, gosh, there's a lot of tears. But He was basically saying, with social media, it's very surfacey.
Yeah,
People will only show you what they want you to know about them.
absolutely.
Okay. Unless you know me, I share all of it. Not all of it. But and I was just like, God was like, I want you to go deeper. And I was like, well, what does that even like? What is that? I was like, what does that mean? I don't even know what that means. Because my whole life, okay, Jenna, I've only really had very surfacey relationships.
Oh, wow.
And and my relationship with God was surfacey.
Oh my
There
goodness.
was nothing intimate about it. Now, I grew up in church my whole life. Okay. I was at church every Sunday, every Wednesday, every revival, every retreat, every youth group meeting. I mean, all the things. I know the scriptures, but I'm reminded about the scriptures where it said, well, we did all of this in your name. And then he goes, well, I didn't know you. Because how do you get to
Hmm.
know someone? You spend time with them.
Right.
Right. And so I felt like God was like, I want you to go deeper. So then I started attending Bible college through a college called Christ for the Nations Institute, which is out of Dallas, Texas. And I actually wanted to go there out of high school, but I decided to not, and I got married young and didn't go to college. But that is where my parents met. That is where my uncle and aunt met, who is the pastors of this church that I'm currently using their facilities in. It's where my grandpa moved his entire family from West Virginia to Texas to go to this college. Okay.
Wow.
And so when I was going through that, again, God wakes me up in the middle of the night and he dropped in my spirit Christ for the Nation. So I looked it up online. And so I got started about a month and a half later. I started online school. Okay. Now, the first class I decided to take was just the basics of Christian doctrine, just going through the basics. Okay. Again, all the things I already knew.
Well,
Okay.
you say you already know, but he wants a deeper look, right?
Oh, yes. Right?
Oh,
Because we can know the scriptures, but do we actually believe what the scriptures say, right? And so I'm
amen.
thinking, okay, well, I know these things, but it's good to go. Let's just go through a rundown of these things. Oh my gosh. I'm like, oh my goodness. Okay, there was one lecture about studying Lucifer.
We
Okay.
can tell.
If we all know, Lucifer wanted to be God.
Hmm.
He wanted to reign over God, and God said no. So he, got him out of heaven, and now, of course, he's in hell. Okay. There was one line that the professor said. It wrecked me to my core. And it said, be careful how much attention you want, or you're going to end up looking like Lucifer.
Oh, wow. That's powerful. That's amazing.
I was like, oh my gosh.
Hmm.
And I felt like a spear just struck my soul. And I was like, I'm done. Like
Yeah.
I'm done. Like this, I just got goosebumps.
Me too.
And I was like, this has always been about me. Like everything that I've done has been about me. Like we are selfish humans, right? But
Yeah.
being a disciple of Christ, okay, is laying down your life and following Christ every day. And it is service. It is selflessness. There is no ego.
That's right.
Right? And so it was in that was the defining moment that got me to step back from social media. So now every time I post, for the most part, I'm like, God, is this bringing glory to you or is it bringing glory to myself?
It's
Because
beautiful.
here's the thing. So what would happen too is I'd put up my videos, I'd put up my posts, and then I would rate all of those views and likes on if I was good enough or why did I not get
Mm.
very many likes on that post? I would attach my worth to the amount of views, likes, comments, all the things. Now, sometimes I still am like, why didn't I get very many likes, or whatever, but it doesn't matter anymore. I'm just showing up, being me, being real, being authentic, and being consistent.
How do you think our culture influences that nowadays? Because we all didn't, when Facebook really didn't exist, right?
Hmm.
We didn't have all those likes or, cares or hearts or what everything, all of that. It didn't really become a thing
Yep.
until
Yep.
kind of Facebook came into our lives.
Well, I mean, we live in a world that most of them don't know the Lord, right? And so it's very selfish. It's very look at me. It's very look at what I've done. Look at the success that I've had. Look at all the money that I've made. Look at all the trips I'm going on. Like it is just constantly look at me, look at me, look at me, because I feel like they just want to detract you from who we should be looking at, which is the
Hmm.
creator of the universe and, the Lord. And so I think I love social media. Do not get me wrong, but you have to have boundaries.
Yes,
You have to know that your worth does not come from the amount of comments, likes, or views that you get.
so true.
And you have to just detach yourself from what people are going to do or what they're not going to do. And the enemy, he likes to use it. He likes to use it. He would say things like, "Oh, you didn't give very many likes today, probably because you didn't have your full face of makeup on, or whatever." Little things like that. So then I'd think, "Oh, I always need to have makeup on," and that's just not how I live my life anymore, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I got makeup on for you today because we're doing this podcast, right? But I just think that if you don't have boundaries with social media, and your self-worth is in that, that's very dangerous. And so I think it's totally okay to, I mean, I take detoxes from social media often. I do not get on social media on Sundays typically because I'm with my family and I'm, trying to be present with them. Um, but bottom line, do not tie your self-worth to the amount of views, likes, or comments you get or you don't get, because our worth is found in the Lord and what he sees about us, And I always tell people, like, what's so cool about God is that, he loves us no matter what we do or we don't do. And do we mess up? Absolutely. Do we sin? Absolutely. But, the word says, as far as the east is from the west, so are your transgressions. They're just completely no more. And so what I've really had to do is replace a whole bunch of lies with God's truth, which comes from the Bible, right?
It's so true.
Yeah.
So true.
Yeah.
So I've actually come to say, while teaching about finding your purpose and things like that,
Mhm.
I've really come to a conclusion that social media and our cell phones are what I call Satan's smokescreen,
Mhm.
because we can't see clearly because we're so focused on trying to pick through the noise and the fog of scrolling and all that, that we're not focused on the clear picture that really sits in front of us each and every day.
Yes. What was that? What did you call that? Satan's
Satan's smokescreen.
smoke screen. That's
Mhm.
really, that's good.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna speak on that because I feel like when I actually learned how to rest in God,
Hmm.
okay, which means I get up in the mornings and I spend time with him first,
Yep.
and I take my walk and I have that quiet time with my coffee. Um, I more clarity has been given to me because of that, right? Because I'm
It's
able
so
to
true.
drown out the noise.
Everything. Yeah.
Yeah, it just changes the game for you. So again, the post that I wrote so openly and so vulnerably literally came from when my entire household was still sleeping and I couldn't go back to sleep for 5 hours,
Amazing.
you know?
I
So, and
think a
he'll
lot of people also miss that whole thing of you need to sit in peace and quiet, because our culture has us so moving fast
go, go,
and
go, 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 go,
yes,
go.
like
Yep,
and the total on, like you were
yep,
talking about
yep,
earlier.
yep.
And instead of sitting quiet and listening, where you get fed more clarity, more things, bigger visions,
Mhm.
not necessarily even for business. I mean, even for your life, your
Absolutely.
personal life, your
Mhm.
relationships, your family. I think a lot of people miss that as well.
Oh, 100%. I was actually just coaching one of the gals from my team. She's brand new. She's 19. She's never done anything like what I'm doing with her. And I have this challenge that I've launched to my team this month, and it's called the Summer Fun Challenge. And honestly, it's just about getting out and meeting people in the community.
Oh, fun. Tell
Like,
us
and it's
about it.
it's it's okay. So last month, I brought on 7 new customers into my organization, and 3 of them were literally cold market, just out and about meeting people.
That's awesome.
And so I was thinking, as a leader, you're always thinking, how can I help more people? How can I help my
Mhm.
team? How can I get them wins? Because again, it's not about us, it's about helping them, right? Because then if we help them, we help ourselves. And I'm thinking, okay, how can I help them go out and just meet people? And so I created this, like, me and my business partner have this really cute, fun summer challenge. There's like suns on it, and there's like a bingo chart, and all they have to do is go find certain people. So there's one that says a woman at Walmart, a woman at a gas station, someone who's pregnant, just different little
I
categories
love
and
it.
things like that. And so all you got to do is just go up to them and say, "Hey, I'm working on this really fun summer challenge. I'm just looking to, connect with people in the community. Would you mind signing your name on it?" You know?
Oh, how
And so,
cool.
yeah, it's been a lot of fun. So I was talking with her about like how the 21st century is. There are drive-throughs at most restaurants. There are drive-throughs at the bank. There are pay at the pump. There are pick up your groceries or have your groceries delivered. Like they're literally taking away human connection, which
Yes.
is God's design
Yeah.
from the beginning, right?
He's
And
doing
so,
that. He's
yeah,
doing it.
yeah. And so I'm just thinking, we are literally we're made for community. We're made for connection. And so you
Yeah.
should, she's 19, okay? I'm like literally twice her age. And she's like, oh, okay, whatever you say, okay, I'll make it happen. And I said, because it's truly not about us, but like I want to get them over the fear of talking to people.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And it's been so much fun. So,
Would you be willing to send me like a PDF of that so I can attach it in the um
yes,
description box here so that I would actually like to participate in that just because I've been looking for different ways to get out there because
yes,
I 100% agree with you. We were made to be communal beings, and
absolutely.
this world is just taking us farther and farther away from it. And I just want to share a funny story that my father-in-law, he's so funny. One day we were sitting there talking about connections and things like that, and he literally pipes off with, well, air conditioning is what ruined human connection. And I was like, what? I was like, how in the world is that? And he goes on to say, he's like, well, think about it. Before air conditioning, people used to sit on their front porches at night and they would talk with one another. And you kind of knew what was going on in the community because you were
Hmm.
outside, you saw your neighbors, that
Hmm.
sort of thing.
Yeah.
He goes, what do they do now? And I was like, oh,
Stay inside all day.
we're all inside in
I
the air
know.
conditioning.
I
And I
know.
was like,
Hmm.
wow. And that blew my mind when he said that because it was so profound. And yes, we just now have like become recluses to where we don't talk to one another and it's so sad. Or it's like we just think, "Oh, well that person might not be a very good person, so I can't talk to them." And it's like you don't know that. Maybe
Hmm.
God put them in your path for a reason, for that day, for that very moment, and you missed the mark.
Absolutely. I mean, that's a really good point. It was funny. We were sitting at Starbucks and I was just coaching her on some different things. So she was texting some people and she was looking at her phone, like zoned in on her phone. And I saw this family get out of the truck. I could clearly tell that they were on a road trip traveling. Okay. And where we live in Marietta, Ohio, it's literally right off the interstate. So
Oh,
people will
cool.
stop,
Okay.
grab coffee, grab gas, and get back on the interstate, right? So I said, are you guys road tripping it? And just out of nowhere. And he's like, yeah, we are. He's like, we're headed up to, I don't know, somewhere, headed up somewhere. We do this every year. I said, so Marietta's like your stop place to get coffee. Yep, fill up on gas, that kind of thing. I said, that's wonderful. And we just started talking. And then I said, yeah, well, me and my friend are just working together. And he's like, oh, what are you guys doing? And I kind of, gave my little pitch or whatever. And he's like, that's great. And then she looks up and she's thinking, when did you guys start talking? What did you even say? I like missed the whole thing you know? And I said, you just missed the master at work. Like I said, this is what we do. We see people, we talk to them. And yeah, it might be weird because people don't really do that. But like I thrive on connection. I am such an extrovert, like it's not even funny. And I have noticed that the more I'm out of my house, the happier I am. It's crazy, I
Oh,
know.
that's
But
awesome.
it's because I'm meeting people and I'm like getting to know people. And I'll never forget this because my mom grew up in direct sales. She sold Mary Kay for years and years and years. So I saw her. I saw my mama work her business, right? And she would always tell me, that's what she would say, Joy, if you don't get their contact information, then you might not ever see them again.
It's true. So
Right.
true.
And so I felt a little weird this morning. So I didn't ask for their contact information. However, I had a couple of different flyers in my bag and I put my name and my number. And I said, if you guys are at all interested, in taking a look at this, it's referral only, but here's my information. Just send me a text. And they might not, or it doesn't really matter to me, but they have my number. And that was just like, not so salesy, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. I
Not
love
so
it though.
salesy,
I
babe.
think it's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
How do you
So
get your
anyway,
team to not feel like it's like weird? Like how do you get them over that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think it's specifically hard for introverts to just strike up conversations. So, what I've taught them to do is I tell them we are just focusing on making friends. We're just making
Great.
new friends. And I tell people I'm the professional friend collector. It's what I do for a living. Like I
That's
just
awesome.
collect friends everywhere I am. So just remember that. And then I also said what we do isn't about us. It's about helping other people reach their goals in their health and in their finances. And so I just have them focus on others. Just focus on others, focus on serving like Jesus does.
That's great.
You might have some people, be like, that's weird. No, I'm not writing my name. Or like me, I met a gal at Walmart and she told me I could message her. I messaged her a couple days ago. I noticed yesterday she had blocked me, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay,
I was
cool.
like, okay, then she's
Yep.
not my person, right? Did it kind of hurt my feelings for a second? Yes. However, I'm not letting that stop me because I'm used to that. I'm just like,
Yeah,
people don't like me and that's okay. I've heard this, God's protection is people's rejection, right? So it is what it is. But yeah, I just have them focus on others. I have them focus on making friends. I have them focused on like you are building meaningful conversations. That's what we're doing with people. We're having meaningful conversations.
that's awesome.
So yeah.
I'd like to add more to that for you too. So I talk about a thing called normalizing it. And so what that is it's doing something over and over that's either unfamiliar or doesn't feel quite right, because
Mhm.
it's unfamiliar.
Right.
And the more you do it, the more it becomes
Yes.
second
Normal.
nature.
Hmm.
Then it becomes a part of who you are. And
Yes.
so I think like just that repetitiveness of telling them that and
Mhm.
really giving that encouragement is so amazing because people need that. They need
Yes.
to know that like it will become part of you instead of you just always feeling like every time you open your mouth to speak to someone, it's gonna feel weird
Right.
because
Right.
that's really just fear
Mhm.
talking and building
Yeah.
up in you to get you
Yeah.
to stay small.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. And also the fear of rejection. I mean, no
Yes.
one
Yes.
likes to be told no, and no one likes to feel like they're being weird. And I always tell people, if you're feeling weird about something, you got to call the elephant out in the room.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
like, if I were approaching someone I just met, I'll be like, okay, I know we just met, and this is kind of weird.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I've said that before. Like, I know we just met and this is kind of weird. Like, that's my newest business partner, Haley. I literally said that to her when I met her at a assisted living place I was at. She was working, and I had met her there. And I sent her a Facebook request, and I said, I know this is really weird because we just met, but like, I haven't gotten you off my mind. I think you would love what I do. And she said, okay. So we had coffee, and the rest is history,
That's
right?
amazing.
So the right people who are meant to say yes to you and the purpose that God has for your life will say yes, and those who are not are going to say no. And it doesn't mean forever, right? It just
Right.
means you need
Yep.
to build more of the relationship, I think. But if they're completely closed off, you can feel that,
Absolutely.
right?
So tell us on the journey now. So you had this, kind of split rock moment, right? Like it was just total almost it looks like in the picture almost like devastation of like wow for the realization. Tell us how you moved forward to the next step because sometimes people in that moment will feel like there is no going up from here, there is no next step, there is no hope. And I understand that faith sometimes can play a part in that.
Yeah, a little bit.
Hmm.
A little bit part of that. Well, so that was that again, that picture was taken at the retreat that I had gone to. And it was so special what my friend April did. We actually met through what was that audio app that came out during COVID? Do you know what I'm talking
Oh,
about?
mm-mm.
Why can't I think of it right now? Anyway, it was an audio app. And we met on there, so genuine, so kind, so loving. She's a pastor's wife, Christian coach, all the things, just all the things I look for, in working with someone. And so she had this retreat. And the very last night that we were all together, there was only like, I think 8 of us. She had a chair that was sat in the middle of the room and she had the worship music playing kind of lower. And she said, okay, each of you guys are going to sit in the chair. And then if the Lord gives any of you guys a prophetic word, a verse, a prayer, just say it, pray it over the person that's sitting in the chair. And there were so many prophetic words given that were like confirmations of things God had already been revealing to me
Wow.
and showing me. And one of the words that was given was, you've always thrived in chaos, but be ready. God is bringing order to your home.
Oh my goodness.
Mhm.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my gosh, he's right. And the thriving in chaos, like I've only ever known chaos and disorder,
Mm. Wow.
and that's rooted probably from childhood, just with like lots of moving and not a lot of stability there and security and different jobs that I would see my parents have and things like that. And so I was like, oh, so if I can thrive in chaos, that means I can thrive in order when God brings order into my home. And at that time, the Lord had already been working on me and my personal life and my priorities. I am so driven and I love to work. Like I love what I do. But I would put that ahead of my relationship with God and my husband and my
Mm.
children at
Mm.
different times. Right? And God was already lining up priorities in my life. And that to me was like, okay, I'm going to focus on my relationship with the Lord. Like that's first and foremost. Like I got to get in a routine, not just because I'm checking a to-do list. That's not what I mean. I
Sure.
mean this is intentional time with the Lord in the mornings. And then how am I being as a wife today? Am I being loving? Am I being kind? Am I being present with my kids? Like, those different things he had already been showing me. And so here's what happens. God, we can only go so far, I feel like, in our
Mhm.
lives. And you have to get to a place where you're like, okay, I'm done. Like, I can't go anymore. Like, I can't.
True.
Like, I
It's true.
cannot keep up this pace. My sweet mama, shout out to Rebecca. I know she's going to watch this video or this podcast. She would look at me and be like, you are working too hard.
Really?
She would. She'd be like, you're working too hard. You're not resting enough. Like, that's the mama hen. She was like trying to protect me. And she knew because she could see the burnout on my face.
Mm-hmm.
She could see how I was operating. She could see the chaos, the disorder, or whatever, right? And so, the Lord really used her little sweet inner, voice to me to kind of get myself back on track. And so I just feel like when we can have people in our lives that we trust that are literally looking out for our greater good, like it's important to be honest about those things. And so I don't know where I was going with this. Anyway, so she was
Okay.
speaking into me. Oh, God was working on me as far as the priorities. And so, oh, surrender. Surrender. Okay. So I last year was like, I remember waking up, like I said, one morning, I was like, no motivation to do anything. I had withdrawn from like all of my commitments, like everything. I just fell off planet Earth. Like I was just done with everything because there
Wow.
was just nothing in me.
Mm.
And that is not me.
Yeah.
Okay. But it was, I came to a place of total surrender, total,
Wow.
because I lived my life half in with God and half in with the world,
Mm-hmm.
and I was listening to a podcast from Pastor Craig Groeschel of Life Church. He had a whole series on being Christian-ish.
Ooh, I love that series.
Oh,
That was amazing.
oh, I'm just like, yep, that was how I've operated my whole life. Okay.
Yeah.
So you have to come to a place of surrender.
Hmm.
Paul talks about taking up the cross daily, like it's a daily effort
Yes,
of
it is.
having to live this
Totally.
life, right? And so I was like, all right, God, I'm done. I'm done doing it Joy's way. Like, I want to co-partner with the God of the universe, the lover of my soul, the one who knitted me together in my mother's womb. Like, let's do this together. Because I literally said, I do not want to reach out to one more person about what I do. Because it just felt ick. It just felt ick to me,
Wow.
because I was so focused on always getting that next sale. It's all I've ever known. And I
Yeah.
really treated everyone as transactions and not as relational. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It
And
happens.
yeah, so that's where I got to. God lined everything up, and I took months of like inner healing and deep work and deliverance and prayer and people speaking into my life. Like I took the time to do that, and I look back at that. I am so grateful that I did that because what I know is doing things God's way is so much more freeing.
Yes, it is.
I mean, I'm just
It
like,
is.
this is what he is talking about.
Right. Why do you think people make time with God more transactional than
Mm.
intentional? And the reason I ask is partly because even at the beginning of this year, I wanted to do certain things in what I call my level up time, which is my morning time, intentional time with the Lord. And during that time, I would have a little checklist so I wouldn't forget. And it really, like, slowly, unfortunately, moved into transactional because I started to, like, not hear from him and not get the clarity that I was looking for. And I was like, what's going on? Why is this happening? And so when I figured it out, I was like, oh, okay. Well, I've never meant to go there.
Mhm.
So I think for a lot of people, it kind of just happens a little bit.
Mhm.
But can you talk to me a little bit about that in your
Yeah, I
experience?
mean, again, like I shared earlier, I have grown up in church my whole life. Um, but my walk of faith was based on like I'm trying to know how to say this, like works, but it was also based on like my family's faith, like my parents' faith.
Yeah.
Wasn't so much my own personal
Mhm.
faith. I just grew up in it. I just
Yeah.
grew up in it. It's all I've ever known. To me, to me, God was like some far off, distant God.
Hmm.
And that is because of my earthly relationship with my father.
Mm.
It was not intimate. It was not warm. It was not my idea of what a father's relationship should be like. And so little did I know, um, that last year of doing all the inner work, that God would lead me to a place where I could finally forgive my dad.
Oh.
And I remember
Praise
so
the Lord.
clearly, like day, at that time I wasn't talking to my dad because I had some boundaries that I needed to put up.
Yeah.
Um, And so I remember texting him. I felt like God was like, you need to text him and just ask if he wants to go out to eat because that was his love language. You want to go out to eat, And I always said yes. Um, and so I texted him. I said, do you want to go out to eat tonight? And he texted me right away. Sure. And we went to our favorite we went to our favorite restaurant, Las Trancas, Mexican. Um, and I'll never forget, like he was just talking and talking and talking and talking and talking. And I was like, whoo, wee. And
Yeah.
I was just listening and listening and listening. And I just felt like God was like, you just need to be there for him.
Wow.
Because I'm a natural talker. I love to talk. I literally get paid to talk. And so, but I felt like God was like, you just need to listen. And so finally, when I felt like I had a space to actually say something, I said, Dad, I want you to know I forgive you.
Mm.
And it's interesting because I thought that I had forgiven him, but I had never actually said it to him. I am telling you, freedom came from that.
Wow.
Freedom in my own life. I was able to forgive my own self for different things I've done in my life, for past sins and hurts and things like that. I was able to let go of the anger, the bitterness, the strife, the resentment, the bad attitudes. I mean, all the things that I feel were just like they were gripped onto me. And I literally remember just saying, I am breaking off generational curses.
Yes.
You
Amen.
know what I'm saying? And so forgave my dad. Um, and then little did I know that my dad would pass away 3 months ago.
No. Wow.
Mhm.
God is so good.
So good. He is
Oh,
so good. And I look back at every encounter, every time I spent with him, every picture, every meal, and I'm just like, God's hand was all over that.
all over it for sure.
All over that. And God taught me during the time I was taking care of my dad, which is basically the last 5 years, how to love him unconditionally
Mm. Wow.
and how just serve him and how just to be there for him, no matter what. And so, um, what's crazy is my grandma passed away 10 days before that,
Mm. Oh.
my mom's mom. And my mom and dad got divorced about 8 years ago. Um, And mom reached out to dad and said, are you going to go to grandma's funeral? And he said, yes, I'll be there. So he was surrounded by family and friends. And I truly believe that he made things right with God at that moment because he
Oh,
kind of went on a little detour. We tend to do that in our lives. Um, and then not even a week later, he had passed.
wow.
And he had all of his like important paperwork out, pictures of him when he was a kid. I mean, he had everything ready. And the funeral director, so sweet, that I was working with, was also a believer. She said this was his last and final act of love for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah, you
know,
knew it was coming.
I know. And
Wow.
how the Lord just took him so peacefully.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh, this is why you did all the work
Yeah.
on me. The messy, messy work that I didn't want to do.
Right.
All to bring healing to my dad.
Which is the greatest gift that we can give anyone. Not only healing for ourselves, but for other people. It's so
It's crazy
beautiful.
too, because I've worked with women who are like, they just have unforgiveness towards people. I'm like, guys, it's not so much about them, it's about what it does to you.
Right. Absolutely.
And so I just remember letting all of that go and just really starting to pursue the things of the Lord, waking up in the morning, spending time with Him, walking. I get
Yeah.
so recharged on my walks, just praying intentionally over my marriage and my family, my kids, my team, my business. I mean, all these things. And then God just has been downloading in me so many things. So when you were talking about how to get it away from being transactional to relational, is you have to have a personal relationship with Jesus.
Yeah.
And how do you do that? You get to know him. You spend time with him.
Yeah.
It's not just so much like do this for me and I'll do this for you. 'Cause that's how it's always been for me. It's very transactional, which is the
Sure.
same way I was treating my relationships.
Mhm.
And until I actually knew how to go deep with the Lord, I didn't know how to go deep with people. It was very surfacey. And so the relationship comes from spending time with people and not making it about you, to be able to listen more than you speak,
Mhm.
to not be thinking about the next thing you're going to say, like truly making it about others. And so I just feel like God just keeps opening doors and bringing new people to work with me because I am doing this His way. And I
Amen.
remember saying last year, I'm not going to do this anymore unless you bring the people to me.
Mm.
Like, I'm not reaching out to one more person. I'm not doing it because it just felt icky to me. And God's like, okay, well, you're just going to focus on building relationships and making friends. And I'm like, I can do that.
Sure. Do you think at that time too, like the Lord was like, all right, about time I was waiting for you to do that? Because I think sometimes we get to that point too where we're just like, oh man, okay.
I know,
Yeah.
I
And you
know.
and you're just like, I really I know, like please forgive me, sort of thing.
That's why I always say God's timing is always perfect because, again, He was just waiting for me to surrender.
Mm,
And I don't think I even knew what that looked like,
sure.
right? Like, but I mean, I've done it, and this is what it looks like, full surrender. Obviously I still mess up. I'm human. I mean, I make people mad probably all the time, because of things I've done or I've said or whatever. And I'm like, okay, I'm still human, but God's
Right.
grace is sufficient and His mercies are new every morning. And thank the Lord that the only opinion I even care about anymore is God's,
Amen. Right. Right.
right? That's a whole shift right there,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because that the people pleasing, that's how I live most of my life. And it still bothers me sometimes. I'm not gonna lie, you know, but I'm like, it does not matter because God's love for us does not change. His word is true. But we have to believe that it's true for us,
Absolutely.
right? It's just so much different. Like I knew the Bible, but I didn't know the author of the Bible.
Sure. I think
That
a
just
lot of
came,
people are like
that
that.
just came to me.
No, that's
It's true
amazing though.
though. It's
Yeah,
true. Hmm.
I agree.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about this friends at arm's length thing because I feel like with social media, we have been pushed, and even the younger generations that I really try to reach with my message as far as finding your purpose. I feel like that's all they ever know because they look at the curated world of Facebook and all the good things like you were sharing earlier,
Mm.
but they don't know how to deal with hard stuff and they're not there for people during the hard things. What's your kind of feedback on that?
Like how to help, how to like,
How to help them or
okay. If it's like
why
not a
why do you
natural
think we
thing,
shifted there in culture?
well, I think a lot of us are just focused on our own lives, like our own busyness, our work, our jobs, our families. We're thinking, how do we have more time?
Yeah, true.
We're trying to make things right, or we're trying to spend time with our family. That's kind of, but that's to me, that's a lie from the enemy, right? Like all of us can be kind. All of us can send a text message that takes you 5 seconds to say, "Hey, thinking about you. hope you're well. I listened to a podcast the other day. If you cannot tell already, I love podcasts, and I am always listening to podcasts on my walk. So I listen to lots. But it was with Craig Rochelle and Ed Milet, which are literally two of my favorite communicators of all time. And they were talking about leadership. And he always says, people would rather follow someone who is real than someone who is always right, right?
Amen. He does.
And
Yeah.
so I think the biggest step that we can do to really generate that genuine connection is show people that, I go through hard stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll tell people, like, if it's not like second nature for them to share that they're going through a challenging time, like, I understand that, but you will never be able to create genuine connections with people if you are not real,
So true.
right? And so I think that's why my post spoke to so many people because they're like, oh my gosh, like she's speaking right to me because I felt this before,
Yes.
you know? And so I always tell people, I'm like, when we get on social media, it's not about airing our dirty laundry. That's not the purpose. The
No.
purpose is to post how we're getting through life, even when it's hard,
Yes.
right? Like I've just experienced grief, lost my grandma and my dad within 10 days of each other,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so now they're all seeing me with the grief tied into it.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you what, Monday was hard this
Sure.
week
Yeah.
with the Texas floods and seeing those beautiful babies
Yeah.
losing their lives. I mean, and then I was really thinking about my dad and things like that. And I did nothing that day. I went to my room and I slept 4 hours in my bed
Yeah.
because I could not deal with life that day, you know? And so what's important is you need to tell people when you're going through stuff because they're not going to know. They don't, they're not a mind reader. I mean,
Right.
obviously there are signs. My biggest sign is if I don't post on social media in a 24-hour time frame and it's not a Sunday, you know something's wrong with me.
It's interesting how people don't realize those signs.
Mhm.
I always think about it like another way, like if in crisis, like if the world was to go to, heck in a handbasket, like who would check on me? You know what I mean? And like, or would they know that something's wrong because, like you said, I haven't posted on social media for 24 hours or
Yep.
I haven't called or texted or reached out or something. And again, I think it goes back to those blinders that we have with our own lives and being worried about what's going on, that we do forget about other people. And our lives are about blessing other people
Mhm.
and being there for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think another thing too, there was another podcast I was listening to, it was so good. Her name is Vanessa. I can't think of her last name, but she was on with Ed Milet and or Craig Rochelle, one of the two, and they were talking. She's a body language expert.
Oh, Vanessa
Okay.
Van Edwards. I love her. She's amazing.
Yes.
She's
Yes.
awesome.
I was just introduced to her last week. I'm like,
Oh,
how have
were
you
you?
known about her? Yeah. Okay. So she was saying there are just a few couple words that will just change someone's life. And
Yes.
it is, I was just thinking about you.
Mm-hmm.
You were on my mind today. Hey, I was just thinking about you because, we were talking about this and yada, yada, yada. So that part, I I thrive in letting people know that they're missed. That's what I do.
That's
Okay.
amazing.
So, like, me and my mom, again, I learned this from my mom. Like, if there are people that are missing on a Sunday and I don't see them in there, I text them right away. Say, hey, missed you today. Is everything okay?
That's awesome.
Because what people, and she was saying this, people want to know that they belong in your circle.
Yes.
And as soon as, it's a very good instance. As soon as someone doesn't start coming to church and nobody reaches out, there was one instance I reached out to a friend. She goes, I was beginning to think if anyone missed us.
Mm. I think that's so true in the church, though,
It is.
especially when it starts to get bigger. When you get into these mega churches, it's like, yes, finding even your place of where you belong or where you might feel like you fit in. But yeah, does anyone miss me or even want me here? And
I
I think
know.
people are desperately searching for that. As my pastor usually says, people are searching for answers and hope and being, but yet they're looking in all the wrong places. They're looking in other people instead of the Bible. And he'll like hold up his Bible, and I'm just like, oh, that's so true. We
It
just,
is true. It is true. And I think something that was just dropped in my mind was like, we are supposed to be the hands and feet of Jesus.
yes. Absolutely.
And what did he do when he was healing people? He would stop.
Yes.
He would stop and he would spend time with people. He didn't care about where he was going next. He would see the people that were in front of him and he would stop and he would listen. He asked more questions, right? He would ask questions, you
Yeah.
know? And so, again, we live in the 21st century where everything is go, 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 go to church, go home, go eat, do this, do that, let's do the next thing or whatever, where we have to learn to just peace, be
Be,
still,
yeah.
you know? And so I am huge, huge on letting people know that they belong. They belong here. They belong in this circle, you know, and they are missed and they are loved and they are valued and they are seen. I mean, John Maxwell will say that,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
So, yeah.
Gotta love John Maxwell. He has some amazing lessons for all of us.
Yes. And so Mary Kay Ash wrote a book, and I don't even think I ever got through the book. I just remember one quote and I've just run with it. Okay. She says every time she would meet someone, she would imagine just imaginary sign on their forehead that said, "Make me feel important."
Ooh, that's amazing.
Isn't
That's
that good?
awesome. That's
So
good.
every time we meet someone, our job is to make them feel important.
Love it.
Isn't that, I mean, it's just a game changer.
Well, and what people don't realize, I think too, is that when you make someone else feel important, it actually comes back to you like twofold.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it's so funny because it's like we get stuck in, that rut of like, well, I want to feel important too. And it's like, right, but if you just try it a different way, look at it a different way and go around a different way, it's a totally different feeling that comes back, which is awesome.
Oh, 100%. When you make it about others, like you will be blessed. I mean, because now that I live my life based on serving others, I am so blessed. I'm just like, man, God's way is the best way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So
Uh,
tell us about so you've taken the step forward, you've made it past, sitting on that stairs and that broken moment and past the next steps. What now?
what now? Ooh, that's a good question. Okay, so now, because my identity is rooted in Christ, I no longer am striving for the spotlight. Like I just don't even think about it. I mean, yes, it's nice to get recognition and for people to call your name out and say they're proud of you and yada yada yada. I think we all love words of encouragement, right?
Sure.
But I just don't, it doesn't faze me anymore because and if a thought comes in, here's the thing, because the Bible talks about to take every thought captive and make it obedient to Christ.
Yeah.
When the thought comes in, I'm going to ask myself, is this a lie or is this truth? And then if it does not line up with what God's word says about me, then I just reject it.
Good
I
for you.
just reject it,
Yeah.
and I say, nope, I am fearfully and wonderfully made,
Yeah.
and God loves me no matter what because he sent his son to die on the cross for me, right? And so when you're able to walk in your identity, which is found in Christ, not man, not in career, not in anything else, right? Like the Lord will, it's so beautiful because I always feel this, like the Holy Spirit never like forces himself on you. Like he's just so subtle, like in the way that he shows up and he speaks. And he'll obviously like shine lights on different areas in your life, but it's so subtle.
It is.
And but then it like adds up and you're like, okay, I know I need to be working on this for
Yeah.
sure. And so, I'll have conversations with people, I'll listen to a podcast, I'll read a verse, and I'm like, okay, loud and clear. Okay, God, like I get it now. I need to be working on my bad attitude, right? Like, okay, that is clear to me. But I was also going to share this either and I kind of got distracted because that tends to happen for me. Joy only did so much. I'm talking third person because it was all Joy's efforts and she got to this place. Okay.
Okay.
Well, now that I'm doing things God's way, God's like, I couldn't bring you to the next level until you fully surrendered that to me, that part of over to me, And so God will only take you as far as, you'll only go as far as you're able to. And then God will say, when are you gonna like let me control? Like, when are you gonna let me guide your life? When are you gonna let me make the decisions about who you should be in business with? And
Yeah.
so now that I am literally operating as, being one with the Holy Spirit and letting Him be my CEO,
I love it. Yes.
Things are so much clearer and better. And I feel like God has also brought a lot of discernment. I feel like I've been naive in my life a lot and I would trust too easily. But now it's like God is, I don't, to me, it's now, I am not quick, I'm not acting so quickly anymore. I'm giving myself time to process, to pray, to reach out to mentors about different decisions or how to handle a situation. Like it is just
Mm,
the wisdom that He has given me, the wisdom alone, the discernment, the clarity, the strategies. I
yeah.
mean, he gives me so many ideas. I don't even know what to do with them all.
Except write them down. Right.
I know, except for write them down,
I'm
go
the
to
same.
ChatGPT and say, okay, I have this idea. What should I
Yep.
do with it? And pocket, for later or whatever. But life is different now and it's clear. I think of, I can see clearly now, the rain is gone.
Love it. I love it. I'm just like you. I cannot write down things fast enough. I have a little notebook I actually have it right here. I take it with me everywhere I go. Because I write down every morning, like 10 things I'm grateful for, and I write out my goals. Not necessarily goals for the day, but just 10 goals that I have that I'm focusing on right now. And then on the other side of the page, I write down what the Lord tells me in prayer time. And like every day I'm writing something down and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to be able to get back to it all. I don't feel like, but it's the only place I can keep it in one place for
Yes.
right now. So I totally get
Yes.
that.
Well, and I think that's one thing too that for years and years and years, I went back and forth on journaling. Like I'd start it and then I wouldn't complete it. And I was like, oh my gosh, how can I make this a habit? Well, January 1st, um, for the most part, I have journaled every night before bed.
Oh, awesome. How did you make it a habit?
Because James Clear has this book called Atomic
I
Habits
love it. I love that
that
book.
I've read in the past, but it's
Yes.
habit stacking.
Yes.
And so, you think about the rewards you want at night. I want to go to bed because I'm tired.
Hmm.
Well, I am not putting my head on the pillow until I've journaled. And it can be
Oh,
two sentences, it can be a whole page, it can be whatever I want to write in that day. But I basically journal about my day. And I normally start with today I woke up at, and then I say what time I woke up and what I did and that kind of thing. So that's what's been working for me now. I am going to implement things that I'm grateful for every day because I feel like if you stay in a state of gratitude, then whatever else is going on in the world just seems to be quiet. It's not as loud, right? Because you're just focusing
yeah.
on, the good things. And so, yeah, the journaling has been a game changer. And it's crazy too because again, I have been able to journal lots of different things about my dad, memories with my dad, and I have those
Oh,
now. And I was even thinking too, like, this is a tangible thing that I can literally give to my kids.
yes.
And they can see what I've written over the years and how the Lord started working in me and what he was doing in me all along, right? So
Did you start a 5-year journal or is it like just a regular journal?
that's a good, it's not, it's just, yeah, it's just a notebook that I had.
Okay. Yeah, because they make 5-year journals, and last year I started where it's got the date. Well, not the date, it's got the date, and then it's
Okay.
got like you write in the years
Okay.
for like 6 lines that you write. I write it every night before I go to bed as well. And I love it because right now I'm going back and reading what I wrote last year plus then what I wrote this year. And I'm like, man, I can't wait to get to 5 years and see what I've written over the last 5 years. So I was just curious if you were doing something similar
No, but
like
I
that.
I like that idea and I like that focus. Right now, I just date each day.
That's cool. That's
So,
really
yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
So I love Craig Rochelle as well. I call him one of my mentors, even though I don't know
I
him
know. He doesn't
personally,
even know us,
right?
but yeah,
Like, yeah, he doesn't know us, but that's okay.
that's right.
He's still my bro.
Yes.
And anyway, so one of the things that he said that really stuck with me when I first started on my journey was if the devil can't make you bad, he'll make you busy. How does that
Ooh.
resonate with you in like your journey?
No, I mean, yeah. He is literally the distraction strategist.
Hmm.
Like that's literally what he does. And what I know is when God has a calling on your life and you are pursuing the Lord, the devil is right behind you.
Yes.
And so, what I have learned, and I learned this from my sweet mama, is just never be ignorant of the devil's devices, like his schemes. Just know right away it's the enemy,
Yes.
right? And so, now that I'm like super aware, I mean, even with this last week, with the loss and the grieving of my dad, like those are real and raw emotions that I'm feeling. However, in the past, I would let that change my mood.
Mm.
And I would let it affect me for several days. I'm not just talking like a day.
Yeah.
It'd be like a downward spiral.
Mm.
Okay. Because we know the enemy comes in and he attacks our thoughts
Yeah.
and our minds.
Yep.
Right. And so that's why it's even so more important that I do spend that intentional time with the Lord every day. Because as things come in, as things come in, they go out, right? So if they're bringing in lots of negative stuff, normally negative things are going to go out. But if you are literally the word says, do not be conformed to the world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind.
Yes.
Renewing is renewal every day.
Yes.
Like it's
Yeah.
bringing in the word every single day. And that's also why it's important to put on the armor of God every day too. And those are things I, again, knew those scriptures, but didn't apply it to my life. And there's power in that, and there is a spiritual warfare going on, especially with Christians, because what the enemy is trying to do, what does he do? Still, kill, destroy. That is his main job,
Yeah. Everything.
right?
Crazy.
So you gotta be aware of it. You gotta have the discernment, the wisdom, and you have to spend that intentional time with the Lord every day. And it doesn't have to look a certain way. I'm sure there's lots of busy mamas that are listening to this. It doesn't have to be a full hour in the morning. It can literally be 15 minutes before the whole house wakes up. If you can get up earlier in the morning before your day gets started,
Mhm.
that's what I'm finding really helps me. I have like a good hour with him in the mornings.
Awesome.
I am operating at the best I can
That's
when
amazing.
I do that. Now, when I don't, I get a little bit detoured.
Isn't it interesting how when you start habits and then you get into it and you're going along and everything's great, and then when you don't do it, you're just like, man. I find the same thing about as well as my time with the Lord, but also like I find it about going to the gym. Like at the beginning, starting my gym routine, it was hard for me to get up sometimes, and go and because I didn't feel like it. But now it's like if I don't go, it's like way worse.
I know. It's interesting. So Craig was talking about on his leadership podcast about habits. And he said this one liner. He's like, I am undisciplined, which is why I need to be disciplined.
Amen.
Isn't that good?
Amen. I love it.
I'm like, yes, preach it to the choir because that is
Yeah.
me. He's like, guys, 15 years ago, I was not healthy. I did not go to the gym. I did not eat healthy. I did not drink my protein or whatever he was saying. He's like, but now it's literally a habit. Like I do it because that's who I am. It's who
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I am a healthy person. I do work out. Or whatever. And I was like, yep, that's me. That's me. But it's interesting too, like what I'm really focusing on right now, okay, in my own personal life, is to not let something take me off my routine.
Yes.
Do you
Making
know what
it
I'm saying?
non-negotiable.
Yes,
Yes.
like it's a non-negotiable. No matter what happened the day before, I will get up in the morning and I will spend time with God. Like that is a non-negotiable because again, the enemy loves to come in and distract you. And he will, I'm telling you right now, I don't know if he does this to anyone that's listening, but he will use my sleep.
Yes.
He will say, you are exhausted. You have
Mhm.
been going through so much lately. Like you're grieving your dad. You haven't given yourself time to process. It is okay to sleep in today. He will literally tell me that. And you know what I had to do? I said, absolutely not. I am getting out of bed, come hell or high water. I'm getting out of bed and I'm spending time with the Lord. And so you have to be able to have that intentional time with the Lord that where his voice becomes louder than the enemy's,
That's right.
right?
Preach it.
And
That's
you're able
right.
to say, "Oh, that is not from the Lord." Like
Right.
and there was one day it was the day that I wrote that post. It was a Sunday morning. I had to get up for church that day. And I was like, what was I thinking? Like, how am I going to get through my day? I had a full day. This is what I said. God, you will give me the supernatural energy that I need to get through my day. And he did. Because what does he say? Greater is he that is in me than he that is in this world. And when you are weak, I am made strong.
Amen.
So I was like, okay, God's got me. I'm going to get through this day. And I sure as heck got through that day. And I had a great sleep the day after.
I love it, right? Yeah.
I think I went
Like
to bed earlier.
when you were talking, one thing that sparked in my mind was something that Craig Rochelle said at the Global Leadership Summit. I go to it every year there in
You go to it like
Chicago.
physically?
Yeah.
You give me all the information. I want to go. I want to
You
go.
want to go? All right.
Yes.
Well, when we're done with this, we'll talk about
Okay.
it.
Okay.
But yeah, so he the start he starts off the leadership conference every year with,
Yes.
his
Yes.
talk. And last year he gave everyone permission to be obsessed with their habits. Yeah. And I was
Okay.
like, at
Okay.
first when he first started talking, I was like, who needs permission? Like you just get up and do your
Right.
thing, right?
Right.
Like you need
Right.
permission.
Yeah.
But it goes back to the non-negotiables and back to the intentionals. And I was like, man, that is
Mhm.
so good because a lot of people like they do need that permission to be obsessed with it because
Yes.
we think like, oh, well, I have a family, so I have to spend some time with my family too. Well,
Mhm.
right, but you also need time with the Lord. And if you don't have that permission to be obsessed with that time, then you might skip it, like you were just talking. So I give you
Yes.
permission, and everyone out there who's listening, permission to be obsessed with your habits and your intentional time and being intentional about the steps that you take in your life.
That's so good. So my business partner and mentor in my business, her name is Lori. Shout out to Lori. We've been working together the last 8 years. She's from Canada. I'm like the adopted Canadian.
Love it.
Um, but she and I came up with a joy winning list.
Oh, tell me about this.
Okay. So basically, on that list, it shows how I know joy, like how I'm winning every day.
Love it.
So let me go to it because all of y'all need to have like
A winning list.
a winning list.
Love
Okay.
it.
Okay. So let's see what it says on it. And it's very interesting too. Okay. So um Joy wakes up.
Hey,
Joy wakes up and she leads her team call. That's I'm winning when I do that. Um Worship time, my prayer walk, and my quiet time with the Lord. Okay. Posting on social media, obviously working my business, which whatever whatever you have to do for that. Did I show my husband I loved him? Was I
love
present
it.
with my children? Did I encourage others?
This is
And
amazing.
did I give my best today?
Love it.
Right? And so, for me, so the priorities, living life with Christ, spending intentional time with him every single day no matter what, spending time on my husband, with my children, on my business, my health. That's very important too. Like my diet and exercise. Y'all don't understand how that affects you positively or negatively
So true.
with what you eat, how you exercise, things like that. And then did I serve others?
Amen.
And so that keeps me focused. So the night before I go to bed at night, I can reflect on my day and I can say, did I give today my best? And if I didn't, what area tripped me up? Was it a thought? Was it a conversation? Was it something I read? Was it something I watched on TV?
That's fire. Love it.
Right?
Oh, love it.
And then I could be like, okay, that's why. Okay, that's a trigger. Joy doesn't watch the news.
I love that.
I
Oh, that's
just, I,
amazing.
it's just interesting to me because it's interesting. I don't know. I get enough news from my husband.
Yeah, same.
You know what I'm saying? Because it doesn't affect him. Okay. I get emotional. I get emotionally attached because of my huge, huge heart for people.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think it's a mother's nurturing spirit too.
Hmm.
But I know what it does to my mental health when I let myself go down that hole.
Sure.
And so this week, the Lord just reminded me how important it is. It's good to be in the know of what's going on in the world, but I can't control what goes on in the world.
Yeah,
I can control how I show up and how I treat my family and my friends.
yeah.
And I can continue to pray, right, for the things that are going on. But it's just crazy. I've had some really good conversations this week. The Lord is just reminding me of this because there are going to be triggers that will just start your whole thought process in a bad way or in a good way,
It's true.
right? So, yeah.
So tell me how did you come about this list? Did the Lord just drop it into you? Was it something you felt over? I think this is amazing. I think more people need to do this because
I think everyone should have their name winning list. This is how I
yeah,
know I'm winning in life. Okay, so let's talk about it. So, one thing that maybe most people need, but I know especially for me, and how I was raised and decisions that I've made that were not so healthy, I absolutely have to have accountability and boundaries
Great.
because Joy has tended to make decisions without thinking ahead, without thinking about what the consequences would be, how others would feel if I made a decision.
Mm,
I honestly was very self-focused. So, with boundaries and accountability, that
yeah.
keeps Joy safe.
Yeah.
Wow, we're getting deep.
Yeah. I love it.
Um, and what I've also learned is until I could submit to the Lord, I wasn't able to submit to my husband.
Mm,
And if you know the role of a husband, he is a
yeah.
protector.
Yeah.
And I never had a dad that protected me.
Yeah.
And so,
Well,
what I've
but you
learned,
did. You had
no,
Jesus.
I did.
You didn't have a physical dad.
Yes, sorry.
No, you're
Yeah,
absolutely right, though. I just don't want to let that thought sneak in there.
thank you. He was always there. He
He was
was always
always
there.
there.
The Lord
Yeah.
was always there. Um, so I've been married to my husband now. We're going on 19 years in December.
Oh, congratulations.
And thank you. But it's been very rough.
Sure.
And there was lots of decisions that I've made in my marriage that were not healthy. And if there's anything that I have learned was any time my husband says he doesn't feel comfortable about something, that I need to listen to him.
Mm,
Because the old Joy would say, I'm fine. I'm fine. Everything's fine. Don't worry about me. I'm fine. I'm good. That should just be an indicator right there that I'm not fine, that I'm
sure.
not good, that something, or whatever. And so I've just learned, I've learned to just heed to that discernment and that wisdom. But anyway, I was having a conversation with Lori, who I've worked with now the last 8 years. And she is like, what is going on with you? She's like, you've just completely dropped everything. Like, like she was mad. Like she was at a point where she was like, you are a leader and like your team like depends on you leading them. Like you have
Yeah.
dropped all responsibilities. You're not like accountable to any, you don't want to be accountable to anyone.
Mm,
Like what is going on? That is how I would cope
wow.
when I didn't want anyone to know what was going on in my life because
Sure.
I didn't want the accountability or the instruction or the wisdom or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Right. And so she's like, okay, so when you are winning, Joy, when you are like at performing at like your highest self, when you are like showing up and you're making things happen, what does that look like?
Love it.
Right? And I'm like, okay, intentional time with God every day,
Yeah.
working out, eating healthy, drinking my water, personal development of 30 minutes a day with a podcast every single day, speaking life into my leaders, out meeting people, spending time with my husband, spending time with my kids, all the things. That's the joy is winning list.
Love it.
And so, what I think the enemy is trying to do, right, is knock me off of that.
Of course.
He'll come in with the
Yeah.
distractions, the
Yeah.
lies, the thoughts, whatever, anything that can distract me from that. And so, what I am learning to do, just like you were saying, it is okay to be obsessed with your habits,
Yeah. Yeah.
because, and it's interesting too, because I had a conversation with a gal through John Maxwell. You need to connect with her. Her name is Michelle Primo. She's amazing. She is a pastor. She's just an awesome coach. And she was talking about how, um, someone in her life had a fall, was up here, was serving the Lord, and then that was gone, And so I could relate to that because that's kind of what happened to my dad. She's like, Joy, that is why I'm obsessed with my time with God every day. That is why I work so hard on sticking, like pursuing righteousness in everything that I do,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Because I don't want that to happen to me.
Amen.
And that's where I'm at too. Like some of us have to work harder.
We do. And that you feel like you're on an island sometimes with that. When you don't want to work harder,
Yeah.
but you have to.
Right. Because again, for me, boundaries and accountability. Without those two, Joy's gone. We don't know what's going on with her. She's completely disengaged from everybody, and so that's why it's important to have people that love you, that can see the red flags,
And that will speak up.
that will speak up. you know. And on Monday night when I was going through my emotions, I let my team know. I said, we're not having a call tonight. I'm so sorry. I've just been going through too much stuff emotionally. As soon as one of my leaders saw that, she called me and I didn't answer the phone because I just didn't feel like talking to her. She's like, "You are not dropping your," oh, well, she's like, "You just can't fall off the, planet Earth like that." She's like, I'll lead the team call, but we need to talk."
Aw, yeah. I think
So,
sometimes too with leaders, like we also get this whole thing of like, well, you're strong enough, you're the leader, you don't need us. How does that like played a role in your life?
it's so good. It is so good. One thing again that I'm learning because it's important to feel your emotions, but not to be led by them.
Yeah.
Okay. So going forward, what I'm learning is if I'm going through something, it's important for me to communicate because no one's going to know unless I tell them. And I can't wait for them to reach out to me.
Right.
Right. And so I think it's taking initiative, saying,
Mhm.
"Hey, I have had a day. Like, I'm so sorry. I cannot lead tonight's call. Can you do it?" And normally I do ask for help. Um, but the communication piece is very important.
I hear you.
Letting them know, like, I need to sit this one out or whatever. Um, but it's just, it's old patterns and behaviors that I have done in the past, right? That I am literally like, no more. This does not serve me. This does not serve anybody. Like if I'm going through something, I need to communicate and let them know. And if it's as simple like, "Hey, can you pray for me? I'm having a really rough day."
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
know? So I think we just need to stop waiting for people to reach out to us and we need to take the action if we need the help, right?
Well, and I would also like to add to that because as you were speaking, this clip from Simon Sinek that I saw on social came
Mhm.
out that I really absolutely loved. And what it was talking about is that he tells the story about how he had a friend that he hadn't seen for a little bit and they came back and they're like, yeah, I was going through like all this craziness, and I really could have used somebody. And he's like, well, why didn't you call me? Like,
Right.
what, like I'm right here. And they were like, I did. And he was like, what do you mean? And so he pulls out his phone and he's looking and he's like, he goes, so you're like, hey, what's up? Like that was your reaching out moment? And
Saying
they
I
were
need
like,
help. Mm.
yeah. And they were like, yeah, that's what that was. I was reaching out to you. And so they came up with a thing and they call it got 8 minutes. And so when the person needs help, they say, "Hey, you got 8 minutes." And so that's the lifeline call for help of like, "Hey, I
Oh,
really need somebody right now in this moment." And so he immediately like stops what he's doing and, calls that friend. And I've implemented that with some of my friends. We do 15 because girls like to talk, right? So,
yes, got
so
15.
we so
Mm-hmm.
we've changed it to 15, but that has been such an amazing thing, just being able to be there for people.
Oh, that's so good. So I have a request. Can you like find the clip and send it to me?
Yes, absolutely. I would love to.
Because this is what I want to talk about on my call in the morning with my team.
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, because oh, like if you don't know what to do, like if you don't
Yeah.
know, I hate the question when someone says, "How can I help?"
Yeah,
I'm like, that's just too broad. Like I don't
it
even know
is.
how to answer that question. Um, you know what I'm saying? But like got 15 minutes question mark to me is like, okay, Joy really needs someone to talk to her right now.
Yep.
And again, it's a cue. It's a cue to let people know, hey, I need someone, to reach out to me. I really need it because what's not healthy, and this is what I tend to do, and maybe y'all that are listening have done this too, is to be in my own thoughts,
Yes.
right?
Overthinking it.
Well, overthinking it, but letting one thought or conversation or like an instance happening or something go in there, take root, and then my thoughts just go negative and I start spiraling down. Again, I had another conversation when I was going through all my stuff last year. I had gone to my convention, which was out in Salt Lake City, and Lori knew something was going on. She knew it was
Mm.
serious. Okay. And she reaches back out to me after the convention's over. She's like, okay, like what's going on with you? Like you are not yourself. Like I don't understand. Like I just don't understand, you know? And so I told her, I said, well, I said, I started this online Bible college and I'm just like learning all these things that I already knew, but it was actually not really that true to me. And like I was just taking her she's like, okay, we're gonna rewind. You are not allowed to process your own thoughts by yourself.
Love it.
And she's like, so if there is something you're processing, you can call me and we'll process through together and I will help you. She's
Amazing.
like, because as soon that's what tends to happen, and that's my coping mechanism. I draw back. I stop posting on social media. I stop coming to the calls. I stop being plugged in because Joy's in her thoughts. And she's like, yeah, you're not allowed to do that.
I love that. The other thing you could do is taking a step further as well, even with your team, since you're going to share it with them, is tell them like if somebody texts you that and you don't have the time right then and there, whatever you have the time to reply because you
Yes.
read it. Okay.
Yes.
So reply back, hey, I'm busy until this time. So it gives them, so then it's scheduled that you will
Yes.
call them
Yes.
right at that time. Because being a veteran, I've dealt with a lot of suicide, unfortunately, amongst my peers. And they did reach out to people, but the people didn't pick up the phone. And so I just feel it's vitally important. Just pick up the phone or answer the text. That's all it takes.
Yep.
Because if you don't, then, like you said, they
Mhm.
sit with their thoughts and
Mhm.
then it just keeps, building like a snowball, unfortunately.
It's, you know what? It's so true. And I'm think there's two instances. I'm just going to maybe share one.
Sure.
One was with a team member.
Mm,
And last year she was going through some stuff. She texted me and wanted to talk or wanted to meet or something. And I just kind of brushed her off.
mm,
Not, and again, it wasn't intentional, but she was going through a time.
mm.
And I remember having the coffee with her, scheduling the coffee with her, maybe the next week, I don't even know, a couple days later. She's like, that really hurt my feelings.
Oh,
Like I needed a friend, and I just felt like you just brushed me off.
and maybe you were the one that popped in her head from the Lord. Was that?
Maybe, but I mean, we're close. I mean, we're friends, but we're also business partners too.
Mm,
And if there's anything the Lord has definitely been teaching me, Ryan, is how to be a better friend and how to go deep with people and how to make time for people. And so I owned up to it and I apologized and I said that will never happen again.
oh, good for
And
you.
that's one thing
I'm
about
proud
me.
of
I'm
you.
gonna learn. If I make mistakes, I'm gonna learn and I'm gonna grow,
Yeah,
you know? And we don't have any idea what's going on in someone's life.
so true.
You know what I'm saying? When they're reaching out. And a lot of them, again, they just want to feel like they belong and that they matter. And if we can show that to them, they will they'll stay around, right?
Well, and humbling yourself. I mean,
Mhm.
just like you were sharing, a lot of people can't humble themselves or they might even take offense to it. We're like, "Oh, you need a friend." Well, I'm sorry, but I was doing this over here and I just didn't have the
You're
moment and
right.
then I
You're right.
forgot.
You're
And
right.
so they pack it with excuses.
Yes.
And again, it goes back to it's not about you.
Nope.
It's
Nope.
about them.
It is. It is. And you're right. You can go in one or two directions with that. Normally I would go in that direction, but again,
Mm,
God is making me see people with his eyes.
yeah.
Right? And so it's just making me show up different in every area of my life. It's crazy too. Remember last year, this hot summer day, and my husband looks at me and goes, "I can see you've changed."
Wow.
Because he saw the emotional Joy, who was led by her emotions, who would go to church on Sundays, praising her hands, raising, to Jesus, and then yelling at him the same day. He'd be like, "You're
Mm,
so inconsistent. I don't even know what's going on."
wow.
You
Mm,
know? And so what does the Bible talk about? The world will know us by how we love each other,
mm,
and our fruits. And so the fruits of the Spirit are exactly how people will know that you're different, that you're a follower of Christ. And so having the fruits of the Spirit, people can see that, you know? And so that to me was validation that the Lord truly did change me
oh,
because
mm.
my husband saw it and he said it and I got rebaptized for the third time. The first two didn't take. Um, but
Okay.
I got
Amazing.
rebaptized on December 1st here at the church and I'll have to send you this picture. But I was like a crying, blubbering mess, and my husband had the biggest smile on his face,
Oh, how
you know,
sweet. Love it.
because that was real.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. It's truly life changing. So it is a journey. Life is a journey, and all I
Yeah.
can say is just be open and ready for whenever the Holy Spirit wants to work things in you, and He's doing that for your good. Everything is for His good, right? And His glory. And it is because if He wants you to go to that next level, you can't go to that next level until you work some things out because, God requires, I feel like the Lord, for me, it's like, I want to represent him as much as I can. Like, I want people to see me and say, she's a Christian just because of how I carry myself, right? And that requires a certain level of character and excellence.
Mm-hmm.
And so, for me, it's about being the same person that I am with you, that I am with my husband and my kids,
Yeah.
and it tends to, our family tends to be a punching bag, right? Because we live with them
Yeah.
all the time,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But what I've definitely learned as well, Jenna, is I am so much quicker to react when I'm in the wrong. Like the Holy Spirit's quicker to convict me.
Mm.
Instead of holding on to a grudge or waiting for someone to apologize to me, I do it right away. I'm like,
Oh,
I'm
good
so
for you.
sorry. I'm so sorry. Like an
Yeah.
instance happened this morning and I apologized right away. And she's like, we're good. I said, okay. You know, um, I don't know. It is a journey and it is so full of good things. But God is looking for people who are willing vessels, right?
Amen. He's
So
definitely not looking for the qualified. He's calling the unqualified to qualify them for
that's
sure.
right. And he is the potter and we are the clay.
That's right. That's right.
Hmm.
Well, it has been an amazing journey to talk to you today. I thank you so much for sharing your story and being so vulnerable with our listeners. And I definitely want to get those. Definitely, I'm going to put some of those things into practice of making this winning list. That's
Yeah.
pretty exciting. Maybe
Yes.
we could create a little like tutorial or something for them to do it, like a little Canva thing we could put in the downloads as well too, just to kind of give it some more pizzazz.
I love that
Um,
idea. I feel like I'm very good at like giving the ideas, but not like executing it.
Well, hey, I'm good at the execution part in the Canva, so I can help with that. So we could definitely make something fun
Yay.
for the download section
Excited.
and whatnot too.
Okay.
Well, thank you, everyone. I hope that this podcast has been super helpful to you in igniting your fire. So now I want you to again go out and set the world on fire.